Hello and welcome to Pothos channel. I am Shiban and this is my first ever YouTube video, so please do forgive me for mistakes. The reason I decided to make this video is because I have some personally bad experience with headaches, and so the purpose of this video is purely educational and reflection. This does not mean that you have to follow every single one of the methods mentioned in this video. As this is an educational video, please seek professional help in real life emergency. Moving on to the video. So in this video, I will discuss about the triggers of headache and how these factors inaugurate headache. And I will go through different environmental elements that cause irritation and also reflect on natural remedies that have worked scientifically. And by the end, if you feel this video has helped you, please give it a like and subscribe to Pothos channel, as it will massively help to spread the message. Thank you. Headaches can start from any sensitive structure in any part of the head. This includes skull, skin, muscle, and blood vessel in any region of the brain. And you are not alone in this. There are around 48.9% of the people in the world who either have suffered or are suffering from a headache. They can be of any magnitude and can happen anytime. However, there is always a trigger involved. What I mean by this headache don't just appear out of nowhere. There are facts on common triggers which I will define in this video, so please watch until the end. These triggers are anti-inflammatory responses after an impact to a head, loud noise, flashing light, overconcentration, depression, alcohol, dehydration, skipping meals, or menstrual cycle. These are common triggers, but there could be various others, so please make sure to check out PubMed headaches. But they're not limited to only these. People who suffer from headache go through a lot, as well as excruciating pain. It can stop you from day-to-day routine. Hence, it is important to pay attention to early signs to prevent the full-scale head breakdown. And for people who have endured headaches, know what it feels to have your brain lobes electrocute you in different ways at different times at different places. Thus, earlier approach to repel them from happening is the best. So let's dig in and start talking about stress. Stress influences headache. A study conducted by Neurological Institute has confirmed that stress induces headache, and from headache onto a chronic form, meaning if headache consistently repeats itself, it can evidently manifest itself into chronic headache. So going back to the study was conducted on 267 Italian patients with chronic headaches, and the results were found to confirm the trigger role of stress. And they also found that episodic headaches produce the development of the chronic form of headache in 90% of those cases, which just shows the strength of stress to trigger headache is severe. Therefore, it is important to reduce stress and do whatever you need to do, avoiding getting caught into it. According to another study on stress management, suggests that effective technique for stress relief and management include methods that improve physical health, such as nutrition and exercise, which could improve emotional and cognitive function, and mindfulness, or a gentle yoga and specific breathing exercise. But this is not just limited to that. You can take charge of your stress by keeping an active form of practice, such as yoga. And if your stress is work or illness related, speak to HR. Maybe at work they are able to put you through a course, speak to your doctor. Maybe they are able to refer you to a professional, but do what you need to do. Like if you want to take a walk, if this is your way of relieving stress, or look out the window, or go for a bike ride, or go for swimming, or draw from your thoughts, do what suits you. Even gardening can help in this matter. The next video I will make will be about stress, so keep checking. And so moving on to anti-inflammatory responses. An impact to the head can cause inflammation, and the impact of that injury prompts multiple primary and secondary cell death. which in result directly affect the brain because the brain triggers an anti-inflammatory response, which is force dependent. The anti-inflammatory response is beneficial. However, due to the severity of the impact, it can trigger excessive inflammation, which furthermore destroys secondary cell. Therefore, the headaches remain, and then you feel puffy sensation on your head and also pain. Nevertheless, this type of headache usually fades away depending on what you can bear. You can use a heat patch or an ice pack, but if the pain is really sharp, like someone is needling your head or any other type, be sure to seek medical help as soon as possible because it could indicate that there might be an internal bleeding from the impact. Moving on to loud noises. Loud noises in general are considered unpleasant due to obvious reasons. Loud noises can trigger headache, and it might be an issue related to your sound hypersensitivity. And this can make us vulnerable because sound hypersensitivity may be compromised to lower frequencies, which again, very hidden. A repeatance of this can trigger headache. According to a report by Japanese scientists, 50 participants were tested for sound. They were exposed to 20 different environmental sounds that they are attuned to daily, and their responses were recorded as pleasant or unpleasant. After all the results, it was established that all 50 of the participants reported at least one out of 20 of those factors mentioned as being unpleasant, and these factors included an ambulance, a police car, bangs of the firework, the barking dog, car horns, and wind chimes. And therefore, it is possible that your trigger might lie in between that, or it could be another sound. However, the best way to avoid this headache is to avoid the trigger itself. So be sure to cover up your ears to see if it improves. And if it does, you have your answer. And if you're still concerned, please consult with your doctor. Moving on to flashing lights. Flashing lights are awesome, dazzling, and sometimes cause vision blurriness, and this is a trigger to headache. A study was conducted, and the participants were asked to rate a stimuli of flickering light. Participants reported that a flickering light caused discomfort. The consequences of that was some of the participants aborted the test due to severe discomfort, suggesting photophobia, which interferes with the visual pathway, triggering alert and causing headache. And photophobia is really hard to establish. Once it is established, it is pretty easy to deal with. So thinking if photophobia is one of your trigger and you might not know it, but it could be that you have a mild photophobia and you might be unaware of it. And to say there was another study in Germany where 277 participants were tested under light sensitivity stimuluses. Only 40% of them had previously reported light as a trigger of headache. However, the funny thing was the study found all 277 participants photophobic in different levels because they reported the light stimulus was unpleasant. So it could be that your photophobia is hidden. So be sure to cover up with the glasses that have dark lenses. And if you do not wear glasses, then please consult with your opticians and GP for your concern and get help. Moving on to overconcentration. Concentration usually causes a tension type headache. In episodes, they can last anywhere from a minute to an hour or even to a week. And for some poor souls, for over months. According to a study, the cause of headaches apropos over concentration was poor self-rated health and inability to relax after work. And they also said that sleeping a few hours at night was another trigger for a headache. So, for example, if you focus on a task for too long, staring at a screen, or if you are looking at a screen that is too bright without having any rest after work, can put strain on you. Therefore, it is essential that you give yourself some rest, and it is not very difficult. This can be adjusted. A study related to concentration triggers as a headache concluded that nutrition and relaxing after work can reduce tension type headaches. So give it a try. at your own risk, obviously, that likely it will work. You can do a few things to ameliorate by setting time for work, having a satisfactory focus to health, meaning exercising and having a good nutrition. And as said before, relaxing after work is much better. So you leave the stress of work at work. Otherwise, the conception can become a chronic issue. And if you are concerned, seek help whichever place you are at. It could be work, could be school, university, college, it doesn't matter. Seek medical help. Moving on to depression, and this is a bit of a sensitive topic because it affects so many people in different way. But don't let it extend in, and speak to someone about it now. According to a study diagnosis with depression and anxiety, participants were put through a verbal rating scale test to test the severity and the intensity of headache. And it was concluded the participant with depression and anxiety manifested mild to moderate headaches along with poor sleep. And it was furthermore tested and identified that severe headaches related symptoms were also predicted for people with depression and anxiety in the future. A study conducted by a psychiatric institute in Brazil suggests that anxiety and depression are related to each other and both together can trigger headache attacks. The study was conducted on 782 patients with symptoms of depression and anxiety, and all the patients were assigned to two random groups. The groups were compared. There was also a control group with no history of depression and anxiety, and the results were the group with the symptom of depression and anxiety reported more attacks, almost half as much more of headache or migraine than the control group. And therefore, it is important to get help. And if you are concerned, it is important for all of us to reach out and get professional help, because depression is probably one of the biggest cause of multiple psychiatric disorders. And saying this aside, this does not mean that you have depression and anxiety, but please keep an eye out for the symptoms of that. But be careful, and therefore be sure to seek medical help once established. Moving on to alcohol. Every time when I drink, I have a headache the next day. Maybe I'm just an amateur. And if you're like myself and suffer from alcohol headaches, also known as repairing the brain after the rain, or maybe there is something else. Alcohol affects 1/3 of all the patients of migraine, which shows that there is a pathogenic mechanism that triggered this in neural pathway, and it can be devastating if abused. There has been a lot of research and papers published on this topic, and I urge you to explore for yourself. I'll talk about one study that was conducted in Italy. So this study, conducted by Italian scientists, suggests that alcohol has one of the highest trigger for people with migraine in general population. And if you are known to have migraine attacks after consuming alcohol, then it is advised that you consult with your doctor, because it is to be expected that another attack is approaching. Saying that aside, alcohol affects a lot of people from all ages, sexes, and therefore it is important to find that trigger and avoid drinking alcohol where possible. It's beneficial to avoid it in many ways, for instance, financially, mentally, and physically. So if you want to find out more about alcohol, please read an article on alcohol in PubMed. I will post some links in the description. Now we're moving on to dehydration. Dehydration results as decrease of water content in the body. It drives various functions of the body and is also imperative in regulation of homeostasis, which is directly related to the amount of fluid intakes. This makes us thirsty. It's not pointing to that water intake is low, but the cause of water deprivation through matters like if you're suffering from diarrhea, or if you have excessive sweating or vomiting, the major symptom could be hidden, which is intake of water, as well as the out of the and the outgoings. And I'm rephrasing, it's not pointing to the water intake that it could be low. It could be that your water outgoing is very high compared to tummy bugs or issue. And if you live in a warm or cold climate, then please follow your government's guideline on water intake, because it varies country by country and the climate. A study was conducted by Hospital for Neurology in London, which suggests that water deprivation headache is common. They have also concluded that dehydration may play a role in chronic headache and migraine, therefore suggesting it's a good idea just to stay hydrated. And if you are concerned, then please seek professional medical help. Now we're moving on to skipping meals. Skipping meals can trigger headache. A study conducted by Department of Anesthesiology in the US confirms that skipping meals and fasting are known to be the triggers of headache and migraine. Therefore, it is important to not skip meals because that is a potential trigger. But if you have a specific meal plan or diet, please consult your nutritionist and doctor and make them aware of your situation so they can come up with a better diet plan. But if fasting is something that you do regularly, consult with a professional before, because skipping a meal will put your body on overdrive. This will result in reduced performance and causes the risk of developing headache. There was another study conducted on 684 patients with headache or tension type headaches were recruited for this study. Participants were put into different groups, one with no meal and another one with different type of diet. And the conclusion was people who skipped meals were 44% more likely to develop mild headache than the control group. And if these mild symptoms keep on reappearing again all the time, it can take a shape of a chronic headache, which can be severe. So please do not skip meals. And if you are concerned, please get help from a medical professional. Moving on to menstrual cycle. This is probably one of the most important point of all. And please realize that all females go through this all the way from puberty up until menopause. I will try to mention some of the key facts about it because this topic is really vast and there are a whole host of processes that take place during this time. Primarily, we'll talk about how painful it is, how complex, how the shedding of endometrium wall occurs, how it coordinates imbalances of the hormones. So here's the process. The hypothalamus secretes gonadotropin releasing hormone, aka GnRH. This then stimulates anterior pituitary, which in return stimulates follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. The intensity and the timing of secretion of each hormone is controlled by the hypothalamus. The gonadotropin stimulates the ovary, which produce steroid hormones such as estrogen or progesterone. The steroid hormones are also known as estrogen or progesterone, stimulates endometrial proliferation. Simply, the endometrium wall thickens. The sex steroid hormones feed back to the hypothalamus by levels. High estrogen level feed back to anterior pituitary, which persuades the luteinizing hormone, which leads to ovulation. During ovulation, the oocyte, an unfertilized egg, is expelled from the follicle, which becomes luteinized as part of the corpus luteum, which secretes progesterone. With no fertilization or implantation of the embryo, corpus luteum, which hosts the oocyte, degenerates. When this occurs, progesterone level decreases and the suppression of follicle stimulating hormone is released. This then begins the cycle, and as a result of that, the endometrium wall sheds, which causes bleeding. And as can be seen, it is extremely painful. There is a whole host of process behind it. I have not mentioned all of it because there are so many important processes are happening at the same time that are taking place at the same time. Therefore, it is imperative to avoid headache during this time. So make sure you learn on pain management and the type of food to help you recover faster, and also take your mind off of what is happening at the time. You can reduce your pain and improve your mood by eating meals at a regular time and going to sleep and waking up at set time, and also reducing stress, can do this by practicing meditation. But if you feel there is something seriously wrong with the amounts of bleeding or the amounts of pain, then please seek medical advice from your GP or your gynecologist and ask them to get, maybe get tested for endometriosis. I hope this video has helped. So please look after yourself and always consult with a professional. So this is all. Thank you very much. If you have listened to this video as far as here, that means you are truly awesome. And thank you very much. I will be making a follow-up video explaining all of these points in detail. And if you think this video has helped you, please subscribe and like, because it would massively help to spread the message. Thank you.